Welcome, everyone. This is Henry County Schools How to Do Business seminar. It's being presented by our Financial Services Division's Purchasing Department. The Purchasing Department is the central office of purchasing, and during this seminar, we'll talk a little bit about our board policy, DJE, the structure of our purchasing process, and also how to pursue business with us. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Teresa Adams. I'm the purchasing supervisor, and I will be your host today during this seminar. Also, I will have joining me our Chief Financial Officer, Mrs. Clay, and also our purchasing lead, Mrs. Lewis. So we'll go ahead and get right into our agenda. We will have the welcome and opening remarks by our Chief Financial Officer, Mrs. Clay. We would talk a little bit about Henry County Schools as a district. We will also cover our board policy, DJE, and how our purchasing ethics and processes support our board policy. The second half of our agenda, we will have Mrs. Lewis to cover the vendor registration, E-Verify, and also the importance of using commodity codes, the NIGP commodity codes. We will talk about current and also future opportunities, and we will have some key takeaways from this seminar. And then we'll jump right into the Q&A session. So at this time, next up will be our Chief Financial Officer, Mrs. Clay.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Shanika Clay, and as Teresa mentioned, I am the Chief Financial Officer of Henry County Schools. And I wanted to start out just giving you a little bit of information about our district. Henry County Schools, we're 15 miles south of the Atlanta airport. We are a community that is fed by four cities. We have Stockbridge, McDonough, Locust Grove, and Hampton. We have over 43,000 students, 6,000 employees, serving across 50 schools and 3 programs. And one of those programs is a K-12 synchronous academy that is for online support and learning. Our district is led by a phenomenal governance team, and I'm not biased in saying that. Our governance team, particularly our board, has been recognized for 2 years running as finalists in the Georgia School Board Association's School Board of the Year. And our board members consist of District 1, Dr. Pam Nutt, District 2, Mr. Mackenzie McDaniel, District 3, Mrs. Holly Cobb, who is our board chair, District 4, Mrs. Sophie Pope, and District 5, Mrs. Annette Edwards, who is our board vice chair. And our governance team is rounded out by our superintendent, Dr. Mary Elizabeth Davis. Today's inaugural How to Do Business seminar is due in part to the individuals you see listed here on the screen. Our board's policies and their investments have called action to ensure that we have opportunities for vendors to understand how to do business with Henry County Schools, including our local, minority-owned, women-owned, and small business enterprises. I'd like to take a moment to pause and acknowledge Mrs. Annette Edwards, who is here with us today, as well as any board members that we have that are attending virtually. Before I transition this meeting back to our host, I did want to highlight our board's unified governance model. First, I want to speak to our board's core policies, and I want to specifically highlight our board's expectation that we have continuous improvement practices, not only in our classrooms, but also in our business practices. And over the past 2 years, Henry County Schools has sought to advance our vendor and solicitation practices. And today you're going to hear some of that information, and some of it will be new processes that we're implementing that support the objectives that our board has called us to do. Secondarily, I would like to point out that the beliefs, policies, strategic actions, and priority outcomes outlined on this page behind me serves as the compass of our investments within our district. A review of our upcoming and ongoing priorities will be included in the later half of this presentation. Our district is on an ambitious pursuit to ensure our learners and staff have the resources and supports that they need so that they can pursue their dreams and their outcomes. I'm now going to turn the meeting back to Mrs. Teresa Adams.
Thank you, Mrs. Clay. I would like to introduce also our financial services purchasing team. You've met Mrs. Shanika Clay. We have Mrs. Harcum, our executive director. Also, we have Mrs. Lynn Lewis, our purchasing lead, who will be presenting today as well. We have Mrs. Prater, our purchasing assistant, and also Mrs. Watkins, who's attending virtually, our purchasing assistant. Henry County School Board policy, purchasing policy, DJE. Purchasing here in Henry County Schools is governed by our board policy, DJE. The purchasing department is responsible for ensuring that solicitations and purchases are in the best interest of Henry County Schools. We also are committed to serving as responsible stewards and supporting transparency and use of Henry County Schools funds. We strive to obtain the best quality and services for our school district and the most cost-effective professional and procurement ethics to support and meet the needs of our students, our staff, and also our faculty. You can view our DJE policy on our website page. We encourage vendors to read it and also download it. So in a few minutes, I will cover key areas as outlined in our DJE policy to kind of highlight what was kind of important to you all as vendors. Our purchasing ethics. Our purchasing ethics are the foundation of Henry County Schools' DJE purchasing policy, its regulations, and also our process. To be good stewards of public funds, we strive to be consistent and comply with our purchasing principles. It is our duty to ensure that Henry County Schools receive and accept quality goods and services that are acceptable and best fit. For example, our food items that we purchase for our students, we make sure that they meet USDA governmental standards, also that they are competitively priced. We ensure transparency of our practice. The policy ensures maximization when it comes to pricing. We obtain the required number of quotes for our low dollar purchases. Also our high dollar purchases, we publicly advertise those on our Henry County School website, also in our vendor platform. Also, our purchasing ethics ensures our compliance with all applicable, legal, and regulatory compliance requirements. One final comment I would like to make is that regarding purchasing ethics, we ensure whenever we use Henry County Schools funds that we strive to protect against our conflict of interest and also to make sure that we are providing equal and fair competition. Our purchasing methods. We have two purchasing methods that we ensure that vendors are provided documentation to provide us with goods and services. The purchase order is the most common method when it comes to purchasing goods. The purchase order will be detailed in its items, description, quantities, and pricing, and also shipping and other detailed information. The other method is our awarded service contracts, the most common method for purchasing services. It is also a contract that will be detailed out as far as the services that are being requested, deliverables, and schedules and pricing. We want to highlight this because when vendors provide goods or services without the documented two methods, whether it's a purchase order or awarded service contract, the vendor puts itself in a very high risk of not receiving payment because you really need that documentation in order to provide us with goods and services. So again, the takeaway here is to make sure you have a purchase order in hand when providing goods and services, and also an awarded executed contract signed by both parties before providing any services. Purchasing solicitations. We have two types of solicitations. We have the informal process, that's obtaining quotes. These are low dollar purchases where it is below 50,000. Our school and departments levels reach out to vendors and obtain the required number of quotes. And these are items that are outside a current existing contract. For our formal solicitation method, these are our high dollar purchases. They are 50,000 and above. This process is handled by our purchasing department. And we advertise on our Henry County School website, also our solicitation platform, and also when required, the Georgia Procurement Registry. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Lewis to cover the second half of our seminar. Mrs. Lewis.
Good morning, everyone. I am Lynn Lewis, the purchasing lead for Henry County Schools. The Henry County Schools website contains valuable information. At the bottom of our website is our public notice section. In that section, you will see links to our public review, our solicitations page, and our how to do business page. On our solicitations page, this is a part of our purchasing department webpage. There is an overview of our mission statement. There is our staff and current solicitations. We have our link for Henry County vendor registration. And also when submitting a proposal or registering in our portal, there is also a link in case you need assistance while registering. Types of vendors for Henry County Schools. Henry County Schools has defined vendors in two categories, registered and awarded. Current registered vendors have submitted paperwork for vendor registrations. New vendors are encouraged to complete vendor registration via our Henry County Schools vendor registration portal. The link was mentioned on the previous slide. All of our awarded vendors have been selected to provide services for Henry County Schools. They have been issued an executed vendor agreement. They have received a PO or their awarded agreement. These vendors have been assigned a vendor number from our ERP system. That is the difference between registered vendors and awarded vendors. An awarded vendor has a contract or a purchase order and you are in our system. A registered vendor means you've just submitted preliminary information so that we have your information in our database. Our Henry County Schools vendor registration portal. When you submit your email and your company name and organization, there is a verification that you will receive verifying your email address. This is required for you to move forward in that registration process. The Henry County Schools vendor registration portal has 5 simple steps. When you set up your account, you provide your email and you confirm your account. The next step is your information about your firm, your business. The third step is any required documentation. The fourth step is commodity codes. We'll explain commodity codes in just a moment. And then a final step is when your registration has been completed. The Georgia NIGP code, National Institute of Governmental Purchasing Goods. This is where you go, and you can do this within the Bonfire portal, and you select commodity codes related to your business. These commodity codes help push notifications when we advertise opportunities for you to get awareness and alerts, notifications of these opportunities. Within our registration portal, as you can see on this slide, we ask for your W-9 in addition to basic vendor information about your business. Awarded vendors and minimum required documents. Again, as you register to be a vendor with Henry County Schools, we ask for your business information and a W-9. That is the minimum requirements for registered vendors in our system. It is very important when you're registering to remember to select your commodity codes. These are the push reminders that, again, give you the information to say, okay, there's a solicitation that I'm interested in reviewing for that opportunity. Georgia E-Verify. This confuses a lot of people. There's some misunderstanding and misconceptions about E-Verify. So I'm gonna take a little bit of time, talk a little bit slower to make sure that we're all understanding E-Verify. Awarded vendors providing services to Henry County Schools or any other public entity in Georgia is required to register their business under the Georgia law OCGA 13-1091. Any service that you are providing that exceeds $2,499.99 is required at E-Verify. Before a city or county can contract to do business for physical performance of services that is outlined in this law, the contractor must submit an affidavit for E-Verify. Even if you are only one contractor, if you plan to do business with a public entity, you must register to do E-Verify. This law is only exempt if you are a private company. However, if you're doing business with Henry County Schools or any other governmental entity, you must have E-Verification. This slide, and we will provide a helpful links slide for you at the end of this so that you can go and review information and see where your business falls under the E-Verification law for the state of Georgia. The Henry County Schools Vendor Registration Portal. This shows once you've logged in that you can see current opportunities as well as past opportunities, and you can go and visit and see maybe some keynotes to why you missed that opportunity or what you can do to improve your chances for a next opportunity. Georgia Procurement Registry. This is by Team Marketplace of Georgia. We encourage you to register for Georgia Procurement Registry, again, to receive notifications based on your commodity codes that you've entered for your business. When you register as a vendor for the Georgia Procurement Registry, or GPR as we refer to it, again, you can search for your NIGP codes or your commodity codes for your business. This again pushes notifications. You can also search all governmental entities as well as K-12 education opportunities within GPR. The Secretary of State. In order to do business in Georgia, your business must be registered and licensed to do business in Georgia with any governmental entity. When we award contracts to vendors, we verify that you are registered with the Secretary of State before we will issue you an executed contract or purchase order. You have to be registered to do business with Henry County Schools. Takeaways. Our purchasing is governed by a Henry County Schools Board of Education policy, DJE. We request that you register in Henry County Schools vendor registration portal, as well as GPR or Georgia Procurement Registry. We ask that you include your commodity codes, and there is a section in Bonfire that selects push notifications so that you receive those notices in Bonfire. They have their own database where they push that information forward. Purchasing methods. These are official documents. You want your purchase order, as Ms. Adams stated, before you begin any services for the school district. Awarded service contract should be fully executed. That means 2 signatures, the vendor as well as the representative for Henry County Schools. The purchasing department is your primary contact for formal solicitations, how to do business information in our future meetings, as well as any vendor registration questions you may have. As mentioned previously, these are our helpful links: our Henry County Schools vendor registration, the Team Georgia Marketplace, the Secretary of State, the State of Georgia Business Guide for anyone who is not familiar with E-Verify or what that means for your business, as well as E-Verify, and then some E-Verify laws for the state of Georgia. Now I will turn this back over to our CFO, Ms. Clay, for ongoing and upcoming solicitation opportunities. Thank you.
Hello again. As we begin to wrap the presentation piece of this seminar, I did want to discuss some of the ongoing and upcoming solicitation opportunities we have within Henry County Schools over the next 6 months. The collection of items that you see here was completed in consideration of our strategic action plan, our eSWAS 6 program, as well as opportunities within our divisions or schools that are a part of that formal solicitation process that has been described. So you'll see here we have solid waste disposal, playground equipment phase 1, which is associated with our SWAS program, and then enhancements to our ventilation systems. These have all opened and are going to be advertised on our website, as well as on the GPR. Coming in May, we anticipate that we will be going to advertise our Birch Creek Elementary School, and we anticipate in May, June that we'll be looking to advertise for Enterprise Resource Planning System. Again, the information that we are presenting today is based on programs that we're aware of and know of today that meet that level of threshold for facilitation by our purchasing department. This list is active and ongoing and can change. And so I really do encourage everyone to register, complete those registration steps that we've articulated today. That is a new process. It is part of that continuous improvement enhancement process I acknowledged in the beginning that allows us to do that advanced registration so that we can specifically push out notices if you've registered with a commodity code. So we encourage you to do that. And we also encourage you to continually check our website as well. We'll begin to move to the part of the platform where we're asking questions. We're really excited that we've had the opportunity to share a little bit about how you can do business with Henry County Schools, our registration processes, what we're doing with registered vendors, awarded vendors, some of those required documents, and some of the documents that you want to ensure that you have in hand once you become an awarded vendor. And so I will open the floor. We do ask that you try to socially distance. If you are online, we're asking that you please use the Q&A feature, place your questions there. And so we'll kind of monitor in person and online and periodically go back and forth. So with that, we'll move with the questions. We can start online. I believe we do have some online. Mrs. Hargam.
Our first question was, are contracts awarded only in response to requests for proposals? If so, how do we know about those RFPs?
So for those who are online, the question that was stated is, are contracts only awarded in response to requests for proposals? And if so, how do you know? So the determination is really, again, based on some of those informal or formal solicitation practices. There can be lower dollar contracts. A great example would be like a tutor or a speech pathologist of that sort. That's a lower dollar contract that's not perhaps going to be advertised, but the responsible district division or the school will go out and obtain the required number of quotes per our board policy. And they have their means and methods of doing Google researches or using communities that they know to advertise that and collect those required quotes. And so a contract could be awarded for the lower dollar without an RFP. For things that exceed that threshold and meet the formal solicitation threshold. And I'd like to acknowledge our board again for that, because that was a policy update that they made in May of 20, inserting that 50,000 threshold to kind of begin to bubble up those higher dollar opportunities. That will go through a request for proposal, and then all of those opportunities will be posted as we've communicated today. So they'll be put on our Henry County Schools website. If they are like non-construction related or instructional related or anything like that, they will also be used through the Bonfire platform. And so, and also the Georgia Procurement Registry. So you'll see all those platforms used for advertisement.
And the next question is, our district is located in Henry County, currently a registered vendor, and I have never received a request for quote for our product for service. How do we ensure that we are given the proper opportunity to quote the opportunities that do not meet the threshold for competitive bidding? No bid opportunities.
Can you repeat the question?
So the question is, how do we ensure that we are given the proper opportunity to quote opportunities that do not meet the threshold for competitive bidding?
So the question for those that are online, if you are a vendor that is looking to service below the threshold, how do you ensure that you're given the opportunity to quote for items that are below the threshold is the question that I heard. So as I acknowledged, there is an evolving process in practice. Today, we rely on our divisions and our schools to do their outreach to get the required number of quotes. What we're hoping as we introduce this new registration process is that we're able to build a vendor database where we can share that information with our constituents that supports their outreach. So that is something I'm going to take a note of, maybe a process improvement opportunity to investigate. So that's all I have on that one.
Can you please tell how long it takes to become a awarded vendor and receive a vendor number?
I wouldn't say that there's a set timeline on the process. It will range based on how quickly the vendors provide their paperwork. So let's walk through a scenario that a division or school has selected a vendor and they need us to set up that vendor. It starts out by us ensuring that we have the required documentation on hand. Historically, we've had a paper form that needs to be filled out. We've now transitioned some of those items to the registration portal that you've seen. So that's going to help support some of that maybe being done in advance. But our purchasing team will then ensure that we have all the pertinent information. Who are you doing business as? What's your name? What's your remit to address? Where do you want to receive your POs? Things of that nature. We ensure we have all of that. We ensure that we have your W-9. If you're providing services, we ensure that we've got your E-Verify practices. And then as Lynn mentioned, we check the state to ensure that you're registered to do business in the state of Georgia. Once we've completed those checks and we've received all the documentation that's required, our purchasing team will proceed with creating a vendor number, and then we'll share that with the end user so that they can then move forward with entering their requisitions and contracts. So I can't say that we have a standard amount of time of how long that is. Those are the process steps. I've seen it go, based on vendor responsiveness to completing their documents. It can be a 2-day process. I've seen it take longer depending on vendor responsiveness to the paperwork required.
If they are already set up as a vendor with Henry County Schools, do they need to go through the vendor registration?
I would recommend this as an opportunity. Again, this is a part of our continuous improvement efforts, and what registration and bonfire is going to allow for individuals who already have in the past been awarded and given a vendor number, is to ensure that you are able to get notice of opportunities in the future. As I mentioned, as we build out this database, we will have the opportunity to, download it and share it with our end users so that they can also use that listing as they're doing their outreach for the quotes and things that fall within their threshold. So we do encourage all persons interested in doing business with Henry County Schools, even if you've historically done business, to do the registration that we have available in the bonfire platform. It'll also allow you to support yourself if you ever need to update your W-9. You'll be able to self-manage that. So there's just a lot of opportunities with the process advancements that we're making that we encourage everyone to take advantage of. I'll pause and see if we have any in the room questions, anyone that needs to come to the mic. Yes, ma'am, you can come to the mic.
So I was just wondering, I can share some of the solicitations and opportunities that are coming up. Will those be posted?
1 second. We need to turn on your mic.
You shared some of the opportunities. We appreciate that. Will there be a place for future opportunities on the website or?
So the question for those that are attending online, excuse me, is where can we find future opportunities that might not be listed and shared today? Correct? Again, it will be through everything you've heard here today. So your first path is register using your commodity codes. As those opportunities become available and are published, you will get a notice from Bonfire saying this opportunity has been presented, so that you'll get that email notification. Honestly, you'll get, depending on if you make the selection of Bonfire, you'll see other opportunities like that are in the US or Canada region as well. So I will state that. Also our website. So we always ensure that everything is also posted on the face of our website. So if you go toward the main page, towards the bottom where the public notices are, there's a link that says view solicitations. You click that and it'll take you to a page that gives you a table of all of the active solicitations that are in process. So those are the two things I would recommend. The last thing is I will reiterate what Ms. Lewis shared with registering for the Georgia Procurement Registry. Again, this might not only tell you about Henry County, it'll tell you about anything within Georgia that hits your commodity codes. If you register in that platform, you'll have the opportunity to learn about anything we post there as well.
What kind of a follow-up? So you had mentioned before, it's not everything goes to the procurement registry website. What is the trigger that make that on there instead of just on the phone?
So the question for those online is, what is the trigger for Georgia Procurement Registry? By law, we are required to post everything that is above $100,000 on the Georgia Procurement Registry. We do, when we find that we're not finding enough opportunities to get the quotes we're looking for, we have used the Georgia Procurement Registry to advertise some lower dollar items as well when we're like seeking that need to expand. But the Georgia Procurement Registry is required for 100,000. And it's through, just to kind of tag on to that question, the opportunity that we saw with the Georgia Procurement Registry where, using that commodity code to alert people so that we could canvass the market is why we wanted to advance our practices here in Henry County Schools so that we could do that here even more locally and more tailored. So again, we encourage you to register in Bonfire because that essentially allows us to give push notifications if you've registered with commodity code. You're welcome. Any other questions in the room before we hop back? Yes, sir. Do you want to come to the mic?
And Tanika, if you don't mind repeating your question, I don't think you're able
So the question for those online is if you already have an E-Verify, what is the process of communicating that? Is that correct? Yes, so we do have I might have to invite Lynn to ask if we've included that as a part of our vendor registration, if you'll come. But if it's not a part of our registration, it's something that we will outreach to you when you become an awarded vendor so that we can get that information. Lynn, can you advise?
So the E-Verify, when we issue you a vendor agreement, in our solicitation package, there are required documentations that we ask you to submit. That goes back to a previous question about the length of time that it takes. The E-Verify is a contractor affidavit or an affidavit of exception. Those documents, as well as a certificate of insurance, if it's applicable for services, your Secretary of State registration, and all of those documents are outlined in that solicitation package. So when we award and we forward those to you, then you put your E-Verify and you must have it notarized with a current notary stamp. And then that would suffice with your E-Verify information. Is that clear? Okay. Anything else? Okay. Shanika.
And then, so just to make sure everyone online heard, so we did just confirm that we get the E-Verify at the point when we're assessing to transition you from registered to awarded. It's a part of our practice to get you set up in our system. I can, but I'm also going to invite Lynn or Teresa back up. So commodity codes essentially allow us to, it's like categorizing your business, and you can have multiple categories, but there's a standardized system that allows you to say, I do this, this, and that. Lynn will be more specific and maybe give some tangible examples. And when you use those, we will be using those when we advertise in Bonfire and in GPR. So we input those codes, and if you have a match, you will get that notice. So Lynn, can you elaborate?
So commodity codes define your business. They are descriptors. Let's say you do HVAC services, okay? So HVAC services can include, not just air filters or compressors. So there are numbers that have been created by the National Institute of Georgia Procurement Codes. 90927, right? That's for HVAC. So if your business is in air conditioning, then you qualify for that HVAC, right? So you'll put in my business is air conditioning services. Well, when you type in air conditioning, all of these codes are going to populate. If you're registering to do business within our vendor registration portal or in the Georgia Procurement Registry, you have the opportunity to put as many commodity codes as each platform allows. That enables you to get the notifications of opportunities that we publish depending on what we're doing. We mentioned that there is going to be some modifications to our elementary school. They may need HVAC services, there may be maintenance opportunities. So those codes, based on the services that you provide, allow you to select those codes. And then you get those notifications, because we're going to put those notifications, we're going to put those codes in our notifications when we advertise. That's how we draw advertisement. That's how you get awareness of what we're doing in Henry County Schools. Is that good? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and then just, tagging onto that, NIGP, National Institute of Governmental Procurement. So this is a national standard within our platform that we use for solicitations. There's a keyword search opportunity. So if you don't know your code, it's not like you have to hunt for it. You can type in some keywords, and then a listing will come up within our platform that allows you to select. The Georgia Procurement Registry has the exact same search feature. So again, we encourage you to, we have a slide that has the links. We'll be posting the slide as well as this presentation to our How to Do Business webpage as we conclude some of this. And you'll be able to go to those places and do some of those keyword searches to research your NIGP code. Yes, we do intend to put this presentation on the website as well as, we'll take out some of the dead space in the meeting, but then we'll put this online as well. It will be at the bottom of the page. Obviously, we'll have to update the page because right now it features the flyer. This is our inaugural event. So we're working through building out our practice of what we will advertise on the How to Do Business page, but this content will be placed out there after it's edited. You're welcome. Any other in the room questions before? Okay. All right. Roxanne, while she's coming, Roxanne, do you have one online?
A lot of people were asking about the presentation being shared, and I think you just covered that. If there, I have a nonprofit asking if there's a different process for doing business as a nonprofit, and just want to know if they register the same way as other organizations.
I don't have, a process readily available to communicate. So I would ask that we take that one and we'll send up and follow up offline.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have a question. I'm a licensed social worker, and I would like to be with, as far as like professional development, any mental health services. Is this the same process as you have gone over today?
Yes, and as I mentioned, some of the lower dollar opportunities are facilitated at the department or division. So your services sound like they fall within our family and student services division. So what I would still encourage you to do is register, because again, we're trying to build this database so that we can share it with our end users to even help extend their outreach. So I would encourage you to register, and then that information can be shared with our responsible department.
Okay, so I registered with you, also reach out directly to them.
That is possible. On our website, you can look up the departments and outreach within there.
Thank you.
Any other in-room questions before we have the
Other
offline?
question was, if they want to propose programs to the school system, what is the process?
It does go with reaching out to the responsible division, but what we're also seeking to do, particularly if you're having a higher dollar program, again, we're on a continuous improvement journey and looking to build a muscle of central procurement. So we are looking to create opportunities of like vendor appointments. It's going to start with a vendor registration. So vendor registration, you can contact our purchasing department to learn more about or share more, or seek to give opportunities to give more information about your offering. So I would say it starts with vendor registration, and we can follow up to see if we can put more detail around that.
Next question was, they heard that Henry County is required to put anything over $100,000 on the GPR, and they were wondering if this was just a K-12 thing or if it applies to higher ed, state, city government as well. Just again, if you could repeat the question.
I'll invite Teresa up, and while she's coming, the question for those online, excuse me, is that we communicated today that to go to GPR, there's a law threshold that requires $100,000 to be posted. The question was, is this only for K through 12, or is this a broader thing, like even for higher ed or not?
Yes, it's a Georgia law. In all local counties, cities, they are also required to post any solicitations that or purchases that will be 100,000 or greater.
And again, I think we just need more clarity about if they are already a registered vendor, they can go back out and register again in our portal.
Yes, so again, maybe I'll take this opportunity to revisit one of our slides earlier where we kind of talked about two vendor types. We talked about a registered vendor, which is a new concept, and an awarded vendor. So anybody that has previously done business with Henry County Schools, you are an awarded vendor. At some point, you were selected to do business. You were assigned, you complete the required documents, and you were assigned a vendor number. Our historical practice, but we did not have a system that facilitated us to kind of pre-register people in advance of doing business. That is a part of our improvement journey, and we now have that system and practice in place. So we encourage all individuals, even if you've historically been awarded, to please go to our registration platform. This again is going to allow you to be able to receive push notifications, targeted notifications of when an opportunity that pertains to your commodity code exists. That kind of takes a little bit of the onus away from just monitoring our website. If you register, you have the opportunity to get a push notification. Again, we encourage you to register within Bonfire, our solicitation platform, and you can access that link from our purchasing page on the tab that says solicitations. We also encourage you to register using your same NIGP codes in the Georgia Procurement Registry. Any other questions in the room? Any online, Ms. Harkin?
And what was the question in our chat feature is where, when I sent commodity, the terms that they provide, if they could not find a commodity code listed, what should they do?
I encourage you to reach out to the names you see listed here on the slide. So Mrs. Teresa Adams or Mrs. Lynn Lewis, and they can help you with your research.
We have a vendor who provides college readiness one-on-one with students in high school. And they're wondering if they should work directly with schools since they are provided a vendor number to provide service to the students.
I can't speak to that because that is not within my purview, and I'm not clear of what the department that governs that activity, how they facilitate it, if they do that at the district level or if they do that at the school level. So I would ask that we'll probably take that one and we'll do a follow-up. And any of the follow-up things that I'm not able to answer here, we'll kind of push that out to all the registered people so that we can let everyone know the same response. So that's not something in my purview, and I'm not currently prepared to answer that.
I think that's all we have.
Okay. Final call here in the room, because I do have one additional activity for everyone in attendance. Okay. Excuse me. So as I mentioned when I was concluding my opening remarks, we have been on a journey as called for by our board to advance our practices. And so a part of advancing our practices ensures calls for us to be open to feedback. And so, excuse me. As you all came into the room, and for those of you online, I'll direct you of how to get to there. You were provided a survey. We're inviting you to give us feedback on this inaugural event so that we can ensure that we have the opportunity to enhance and get better as we continue to provide this platform. So if you are online, the way to access the feedback form is you're going to go to the How to Do Business page. As a reminder, the way to get to that, if you're on the main Henry County website, scroll to the bottom. There's an image in the public notices section that says How to Do Business. You'll click that. It'll take you to the page that you see shown here on the slide. Scroll to the bottom, and there's a link that says Feedback Form. Okay. And in the room, if you'd prefer to do a digital response versus the paper response, we invite you to do this as well. And so that will kind of officially conclude our event. I will just ask that everyone use their time to complete that feedback. And we thank you all again for coming today to this inaugural event.